Hi everyone, today's Friday fail. So Anna and I are going to be talking about 3 ways that we've failed recently, and in one particular case, spectacularly memorably. All right, number one.
Well, first of all, with investors, there's just generally a lot of fails. I mean, the typical hit rate is if you have 10 conversations and get one yes, that's good. We've probably been tracking close to that. So you actually get a lot of no's before you ever get one yes. So I guess you could say there's a lot of fails along the way. We definitely had one particular spectacular fail. And it's interesting because with anytime we get a no, we always think there's something to be learned from it. And so we try to take away the good and evolve the business and take it as constructive feedback. And every once in a while, we have a conversation when there's no such thing as constructive feedback.
And so maybe let's just use this
Let's
as a
set the scene.
hypothetical. You happen to be screen sharing with an investor who you're speaking to, and you realize that it's not only not a fit from their investment thesis, but culturally as well. And so perhaps you're me, and you decide...
He's actually kind of a sexist. And no matter what you say, you can't actually get the idea across of the business, and you recognize that there's nothing you can say that's going to win them over, and it has nothing to do with your business, but it's just not a fit.
And so perhaps you text your business partner and say, let's get off this call now, and maybe that pops up on the screen share for the investor to read in the middle of the call. So for the rest of the call, I had to dive out of the screen and, sweat/cry/wonder, how we were going to handle it.
This text comes across. We're screen sharing because we're showing our site and prototype. And I quickly try to tag away from the screen and recognize, I'm hoping that we totally saved it. Everything's fine. Annie literally actually dives down and she's crying at this moment. At which point we sort of wrap up the call as quickly as possible. Turns out they actually did see that text, and we're clear that in their 18 years of being, an investor, something like that had never happened to them.
So these are unique.
So we can laugh about that now. But we also have moments of, everyday fails ourselves. Some of them are business things and challenges, and sometimes it's more personal. Do you want me to share mine first? So for me, we always think about reflecting on ourselves. And actually one of the big principles as a company is self-awareness. And, for me, one of my fails is I feel like my mind works at a speed that is not a normal human speed, which you could argue is a good thing. It does make me rush through things, and there's so many times I write something too quickly and I recognize I made a typo or I forgot to attach something. And it also, sometimes makes it harder to prioritize and recognize the difference between the important and the urgent when you just move too quickly. And so for me, my biggest fail, I know all the time, is just sort of rushing and not slowing down to breathe, reprioritize, think. And something I'm working on every day. So that's one of my big fails.
And for me, it's actually the opposite, which is why we're such good partners. But I'm somebody who really likes to dive deeply into things and understands the nuance and the importance and the context of everything that we're doing. And I am 100% my own worst critic. I'm very, very hard on myself whenever we're facing an investor conversation where maybe I took the conversation in a way that wasn't as productive, or if I'm speaking, publicly and I share something that I didn't plan to share and I wonder whether it was effective or not. I think those are the types of things that I really deeply reflect on, and my perfectionism is helpful, just like Anna's insane.
It really is, actually.
Speed is helpful, but it can hold me back too.
And the thing I'll share actually is, and Annie, I think you really like what I shared this before, is the idea that every peak casts a shadow.
Yeah.
It's not my idea. It's something I heard during business school, and I've been obsessed with this idea, which is you have to recognize that every downside actually can be an asset. And the flip side is true, that sometimes people's greatest strengths can actually become their greatest weaknesses. And I think one of the things that's been really important to each other is to recognize that in each other, really appreciate the peaks and recognize that peaks come with shadows, and help each other compensate for the shadows and kind of get through it as a team.
Yeah. And focus on what you're good at, which is something that you taught me on day one, which is sort of ignore your weaknesses and hire for them. All right. So recap, 3 ways that we have been failing lately. 1, fundraising means a lot of failure, success, but a lot of ways to learn. And that's been really exciting. 2, don't text message your partner negative things about an investor that you're on a call with during a screen share.
Unless you want a really good story for
it literally is in the war story category. And 3, know yourself, and know that your own weaknesses are going to cause you grief and cause you to have a sense of failure, but that you'll overcome it. Thank you guys for joining us, and tell us about your failures as well.
See you later.
Bye.